Joining us on the line is Representative Jim Jordan. He represents in Congress, Ohio's 4th District. Representative Jordan, thanks so much for joining the program. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Ben. Good to be with you.
So last night, the Democrats held their January 6th Lollapalooza. There was partying in the streets. It was really exciting stuff. In prime time, on national television, every network except for Fox News. And we were supposed to hear all of these revelations. And instead, what we really heard was sort of the same case that we've been hearing from them for a very long time. That case seemed to me to not actually even connect all the dots that they were suggesting it was going to connect. What was your overall impression?
No, I think you nailed it. Nothing new, and frankly, out of touch with where the American people are and what the American people care about. So, and then what we did see, I mean, the biggest takeaway for me is there was no cross-examination. I mean, even the partisan impeachment, Ben, in 2019, the Schiff impeachment in the bunker in the basement of the Capitol. Even then, we were allowed to be in the room and depose witnesses and hear that. And then when we had hearings, even though there was no real due process there either, we weren't allowed to call our witnesses. We could at least cross-examine their witness. Well, now this charade doesn't even allow that to happen. And we had the spectacle last night of a Democrat staffer on video telling the story. Could you imagine if a Republican staffer in a Republican-only hearing were telling the story? I mean, so that's how partisan and out of touch I think the American people saw it.
So, Representative Jordan, I'm not sure what they were attempting to establish with the hearings other than vote Democrat in 2022. The reason I say that is because if what they were attempting to establish is that riots at the Capitol building are bad, got it. We all remember it. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah. If they were trying to establish that Donald Trump was somehow directing the crowd, there is still no evidence provided as to that. The best that they could do was the suggestion, mainly through sort of contemporaneous documentation and unspecified witness testimony, that Trump was in the background not activating the National Guard as fast as he should have, even though, of course, Vice President Pence, apparently, even according to their own witnesses, was activating the National Guard and Trump didn't stop them. Yeah. Like they didn't actually get, like, I'm hard-pressed to, again, find out what they were trying to do other than just put out a bunch of footage that we know was really bad and really ugly and then suggest that everyone who voted for Donald Trump, number one, was in league with everybody who believed that the election was stolen. And all of those people were in league with everybody who ran into the Capitol building shouting, "Hang Mike Pence."
Right. And the goal, I mean, they've told us the goal is to stop President Trump from running again. The goal is to get rid of the Electoral College. You know, the old cliche, sometimes they say the quiet part out loud. That's exactly what Mr. Raskin did last week. So we know what the goal is. And then I think the sort of the bigger goal of the left is to say that anyone who's conservative, anyone who supported President Trump, by definition, you're a bad person because somehow you caused this terrible event that happened on January 6, 2021. And the American people are a lot smarter than that, and they just don't buy it because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't square with any kind of logic. So, but we sort of felt like this is what was going to come. And for all the hiring of the former ABC news producer, I mean, I don't know that it was choreographed all that great. I know one thing. I don't remember Republicans in big hearings have to use a teleprompter. We just present the facts. We ask the questions. We do what you're supposed to do in a congressional hearing to get the truth for the American people. This was so choreographed, teleprompters, videos, everything else. But I don't think it connects with where the country is.
Yeah, Representative Jordan, I actually was kind of shocked at the lack of knowledge of how to run an actual primetime special. We heard the Daily Wire. We programmed some pretty successful stuff. Okay. And I got to say that if you're going to lead off a primetime special, I don't know why you would lead off with Benny Thompson talking about his childhood in Mississippi, as opposed to presumably the new blockbuster evidence that we've been told. The impression that I get from the January 6th committee is actually very similar to the impression that I was getting from the Russian collusion stuff from the Democrats for years, which is always they would go on TV and they'd say, "Oh man, we've got this smoking gun and it's right around the corner. We've got some evidence and it's right around the corner. It's going to prove that there was collusion." And you got the same thing last night. Benny Thompson told Jake Tapper that they have proof that there was coordination essentially between the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and members of the Trump administration. Well, I mean, if you had that, you have like one shot at this. Why would you not lead with this? Yeah. I keep hearing about this blockbuster stuff. Have you been made privy, or has anyone in the Republican caucus been made privy to any of this?
No, you've hit the nail on the head. This is, and it is exactly like the whole Russia collusion fake story. Because remember when Adam Schiff said we have more than circumstantial evidence to show that there was collusion, but they never showed us the evidence. So the pattern for the left and for the Democrats is the Democrats make up a lie. They just lie. The Democrats lie. The media repeats the lie. Big tech amplifies the lie, and then big tech stops Republicans from saying the truth. They censor us. That's the pattern, and we've seen it time and time again. They make it up. They made it up about moms and dads as terrorists, and then they try to establish the Disinformation Governance Board to keep any information from from us telling the truth. So this is a pattern, and I think you're exactly right. Then this is what they did last night, and just what they did with the whole Russia collusion hoax.
Now, Representative Jordan, you suggested earlier that this is really about Democrats trying to get Trump not to run again. I actually kind of think the opposite. I think that in some ways it's about Democrats trying to get Trump to run again. Because if there's one thing we know about President Trump, he doesn't like being talked about in this way on television. And he is very averse to the idea of being painted as this sort of all-knowing villain. And we know that Democrats actually, for whatever reason, they believed this in 2015. And even after he won in 2016, they still believe it. They believe that Donald Trump is probably a more beatable candidate than some of the other candidates. They did the same thing in Pennsylvania with Doug Mastriano, trying to spend a lot of money in order to promote a candidate that supposedly was a danger to democracy, but somehow they were spending money to promote him. It seems like that there is some of that here too, which is if they focus on Trump, hopefully they can run against Trump, because Joe Biden, the only candidate that he has ever beaten in any way is Donald Trump. So it feels almost as though this is deliberately an attempt to kind of troll Trump.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, look, President Trump got more votes than any presidential candidate in history, except for the Joe Biden, of course, in this race. So he won in 2016 against the person that the whole world thought was going to be president, and Hillary Clinton. And what I like so much about President Trump is he did what he said he would do. No one accomplished more, Ben, than he did, and he did it with everyone against him. Every Democrat in that town was against him. Everyone in the mainstream press was against him. Half the Republicans were against him. And most importantly, everyone in the bureaucracy was against him. And in spite of that, got more done than anyone, certainly in my lifetime. So I'll take that record any day. And frankly, I think we need someone with the toughness that he's displayed in this environment where the left, they have a disdain for people like you and I and the folks who listen to your program. Anyone who's conservative, there is a disdain for us. I mean, you remember when Anderson Cooper said Trump voters stay at the Marriott and eat at the Olive Garden because he stays at the 5-star and eats at the 5-star restaurant and stays at the Ritz. So I'll take President Trump any day. I think he's going to run, and frankly, I think he's going to win.
That's Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio. Representative Jordan, really appreciate the time.
You bet. Then take care.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.